We continue to track Hurricane Joaquin this morning, and here's a look at the infrared satellite of Hurricane Joaquin here nearing the Bahamas this morning. And here's a look at the latest map from the National Hurricane Center showing you the cone of uncertainty, if you will, heading into time here over the weekend and then early next week as the hurricane tracks northward. But currently, this hurricane is actually pushing about 5 miles per hour towards the southwest, which is very, very bad news for parts of the Bahama Islands that could really see some potentially devastating impacts from this hurricane. You see all this red here? This red shading here, that indicates where we have hurricane warnings in place. And we have hurricane warnings for the central Bahamas, the northwest Bahamas, including the Abacos, Berry Islands, Eleuthera, Grand Bahama Island, and New Providence. The National Hurricane Center has put out a hurricane watch for Bimini and Andros Island. And we have a tropical storm warning for southeast Bahamas, so some pretty big impacts, it appears, for parts of the Bahamas, and it could be very devastating. That west-southwest track this morning is not good news for the Bahamas. Some of these islands here in the Bahamas could be really devastated from Hurricane Joaquin. Now, you may be looking at the satellite this morning that I just showed you, and you may be looking, if you're, say, in Miami or South Florida, you're looking at this saying, oh my goodness, the hurricane's approaching. But here's the thing, we have a big trough digging into the southeast, and that's going to be kind of the kicker to push this thing away from Florida. It's going to push this hurricane to the north over the coming days. So Florida really does not appear you're going to have any big impacts. But if you're on the East Coast, you're certainly on the East Coast of Florida here, on the Atlantic side of Florida here, you're still going to have major impacts on the beaches with very, very high rip currents, tough waters out there still being felt from this hurricane. So let's take a look at this is a look basically at the spaghetti plot that we call it. This is a look at all the various models showing their depicted track of the system. And this just goes to show you the uncertainty that still exists with the track of the storm. I go back to the National Hurricane Center map, and you can see over time how the cone widens as the uncertainty increases and where exactly this thing's going to go. We continue to look at the models to fine-tune if we can get a better idea where this thing's going to generally track over the coming days. So here's a look. We have the M icon here that indicates major hurricane status. Right now it's a Category 3, and the National Hurricane Center, the latest update, said that the National Hurricane Hunters went in there, and they are saying that the storm they've seen signs of more strengthening. So it does appear this could very likely become, for a time, a Category 4 storm. So this is obviously a major hurricane. Anytime we have a Category 3 or greater, that's a major hurricane status. And the M icon here indicates the major hurricane status will continue for today. Here's 2 a.m. Friday. Storm expected to be right in here. And by the time we get to Friday night and into Saturday, the system begins to make that pull northward. By 2 a.m. Saturday, here it is out here, according to the National Hurricane Center map here. By the time we get to 2 a.m. Sunday, here we go. It's approaching, getting closer to that east coast here, North Carolina, by 2 a.m. Sunday as a hurricane, and still expected to remain a hurricane by the time we get to Monday. And I talked about the track, how uncertain the track is. We have all kinds of different models showing you here, the various tracks of the storm. You can see a little bit more of a clustering kind of going right through here, but still a lot of models varying on the exact track of the system, and models will continue to waver over the next few days. Actually, before I go to the next slide, I wanted to briefly talk about the latest GFS. The European model has been consistently keeping the storm well out in the ocean, but keep in mind, even if the system is still well off the coast and well out in the Atlantic, there's still going to be major impacts for the East Coast. Just because the system doesn't make if the system doesn't make landfall in the U.S. does not mean we won't have major impacts. The latest GFS shifted a little farther east from its earlier run, so it's shifting a little more towards the European model, which has been consistently farther east. And I would not be surprised to see this cone from the National Hurricane Center be shifted slightly farther east with their next update. We'll see. Now keep in mind that just because the models are shifting east, some of the models are shifting east right now, does not mean they can't shift back west. We talk about the forecast being a very fluid situation. Atmospheres are fluid. We talk about forecast also is fluid because the information continues to update and change. New model runs come in showing a new track, and then later model runs come in will potentially shift it back. So we have to continue to watch the models over the next few days. We're going to continue to see this wavering where the track's going to go. We'll hopefully see a better clustering where we can get a better idea of where the track will go as we head into the weekend and early next week. So when you look at the spaghetti plot, hopefully by the weekend you'll begin to see more and more clustering, so a better consensus, I wish I could talk here, on where the storm will go. We could see some very heavy rain from this system. Even if the European model continues to show very, very heavy rains across the parts of the Carolinas, and here's a look at the European model, or not the European, the GFS computer model, also showing that very heavy rain. We've been watching a model since early this week, and every model run, one thing that remains is the forecast for some extremely heavy rain in parts of the Carolinas. This is, I mean, we're talking about some just absolute potentially devastating flooding. I hate to, be the bearer of bad news and always try to look down upon everything, but this could be a pretty serious situation. Models are spitting out totals of a foot or more of rain potentially in parts of South Carolina, and you can see northeast Georgia here and parts of North Carolina. Look at all this rain. Now keep in mind this is all rain falling on already very saturated soil, because we have that system right now that's been continuing to bring rain to these areas, and then you add Joaquin to the mix and it's going to be potentially a mess. Hopefully these solutions don't verify, but the models have been consistently showing a foot or more of rain across parts of the Carolinas here. Maybe even extending through Georgia here, depending on the exact track of the system, as we head into the next several days. So that is very concerning and something to watch very closely as we head closer in time. And I also want to show you the progression of the rain. If I could get off my slideshow briefly here and show you the timing, basically, how this rain accumulates over the next several days. We start out today. You can see some rainfall here in parts of the Carolinas up the East Coast. We have the stall boundary here, and heading into Friday, you can see how the rain continues to increase. Not necessarily from Joaquin, but just rain continuing in these areas that we've already seen over the past several days. By the time we get to Friday night, Saturday, that rain continues to expand here, and rainfall will continue to be a big concern heading into early next week. So we're talking several days of heavy rain on top of already saturated grounds that will cause potentially some big-time flooding issues. So it's very concerning. You need to keep a very close eye on the forecast over the next several days. Let's go back to my slides and show you. I wanted to make a slide here showing you some things to just keep in mind, because we still have plenty of uncertainty on the track of Hurricane Joaquin. The models will continue to waffle on the track of the storm, so you can expect some forecast adjustments to be made over the next few days. And again, I want to stress, impacts of the storm will extend far beyond that cone of uncertainty. If I go back to the cone here of uncertainty, you can see how there's still plenty of uncertainty on the track, but also I want to keep in mind that the impacts will extend far beyond. You saw that heavy rain we're expecting in parts of the Carolinas, far beyond the cone here, the track of the storm. So I want to just keep that in mind, that the impacts from the storm will be widespread and very far-reaching. So again, expect some forecast adjustments over the next few days as we fine-tune the track of this system. And so this is all I have for this update. Keep it here to convective weather. We will be continuing to post updates and keep you updated over the next few days. You certainly want to stay tuned to the forecast over the next few days. Well, thanks for watching this video forecast. Have a good day.